Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Cafecito and Canes. It is Tuesday night, and hopping on here just to talk, just to get a general vibe of how the fans are feeling a few days after the big news of us acquiring Cam Ward. Yes, it was big news. I'm still coming down from the high from it. It feels very similar to when we brought in D'Eriq King back in 2020. Obviously, Cam Ward, I think, is a much better talent than D'Eriq King, but I knew back then that was going to be the guy that could really take the team to the next level and possibly take the season to the next level. So definitely still excited about the Cam Ward news. But let's talk a little bit, A, about the ripple effect it has, the positive ripple effect, and B, what kind of pressure is on Mario Cristobal and this staff now. Just to be clear, I would rather have this situation where you bring in the quarterback and now you have that pressure to get the wins this season, rather than we didn't get the quarterback and you don't have the pressure. I prefer the other option for sure. But let's dive in. So we land Cam Ward Saturday night. We land his commitment. And now all of a sudden, bringing in Reese Poffenbarger earlier in the week makes a lot of sense. The Cam Ward thing really came as a surprise. I don't think the coaching staff was expecting it until later in the week, but they were trying to bring in another veteran. So I don't think the goal was for Poffenbarger to start this year, but now you have him with 2 years of eligibility left. And let's just be clear, I like Reese Poffenbarger a lot. I said that last week, and I'm standing by it. I think he's a great prospect, but now he's going to have a year to sit to be part of an FBS program. Be part of the strength and conditioning, learn the playbook, maybe get some burn and some garbage time here and there, and really compete for that number 2 job where the pressure isn't on him to have to adapt his game to the FBS in one offseason. That would have been a tough ask. But now you have him sitting out a year. You have Jakari also sitting out a year, competing with him for that number 2 spot. And he has 3 years of eligibility left. So now, let's say, God forbid, Cam Ward gets nicked up. He misses a couple of games. Okay. You got Jakari Brown, who's now started a handful of games. He has experience. He's in his 3rd year with the program. And you're not freaking out if he has to start against Georgia Tech on the road or he has to start against Duke at home. Jakari can step in and he can game manage his way to a victory for us. So I think this is perfectly staggered and perfectly set up, whereas you got Cam Ward, you got the guy that can really raise the ceiling for one season. Let's say he goes out and wins us 10 games. Let's say he goes out and helps us win the ACC. And let's say he goes out there and impresses enough that he's a first-round draft pick. All of a sudden now, Miami becomes more of a destination for future quarterbacks. And that will raise the level of recruiting. I mean, you can pretty much guarantee a 3rd consecutive top 10 class, maybe a top 5 class. Now you're really stacking chips. And then after he leaves, you got Poff and Jakari competing for that 2025 starting job. You got Judd Anderson now going into his 2nd year. You got Luke Nickel coming in. Hopefully we hang on to him. So, and also you have Emory. Let's say, he sticks around. He could even compete for that starting job in 2025. Who knows? So it's perfectly set up for like the next 5 years, which I love. That makes this season, though, very important. Now, for you guys, you tell me in the chat. I'll tell you my thoughts in a little bit. But you tell me, what is a good season to you guys? Like 2024 ends, the season ends, and we have this record or this happened during the season. what would have to happen? What would have to transpire for you guys to be like, you know what, that was a successful year. We took advantage of, Cam Ward being here for a year. We cashed in on that, and we can build on this season for the future. You tell me, what would be considered successful for you guys? Let's see, Birdstone, what's up? Bleed Miami Sports, what's going on? Heard Dawson might be interviewing for another job. Yeah, I heard some rumors about that. Our coordinators are going to be sought after. We saw what happened with Lance Guidry last week or the week before. He ends up getting a nice payday and he ends up sticking around. So I don't know what's going to happen with Dawson. Hopefully he sticks around, just because I want that stability going into year 2. And also, obviously, Dawson helped recruit Cam Ward here. So they've had a lot of dialogue back and forth, I'm sure, about what kind of offense they want to run. So I wouldn't like to see him go, but we'll see. I'm pleased with how the team is coming together. I am too. The quarterback kind of brings things all together. 9 games minimum. Okay, so Birdstone, you think 9 wins if we go 9-3, or I don't know if you're maybe thinking possibly 8-4, but then you win a bowl game, so that's 9-4, which, I mean, I kind of be okay with that depending on who you beat during the season. 10-2 with a playoff appearance, 10 wins, 11 from Boss. Okay. Rob 7767 says minimum 9 wins. Okay, that kind of seems to be the consensus. No less than 9 games for me. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Beat FSU, beat UF, 10 wins, ACC championship game appearance. Okay. I think 10 wins definitely gets you there. ACC championship appearance. Yeah, let's think about this, though, because that non-conference schedule is not that difficult, because, I mean, your toughest non-conference game is at the Swamp on the road to kick off the season. Playing at the Swamp is playing at the Swamp. I get that. Tough atmosphere. Week 1, your offense really hasn't gotten a chance to click yet. It's their first game, so it's cool to kick off this season with such a big opponent, because it boosts the anticipation for the season. But you don't have that tune-up game to kind of test out what you want to run. It's you hit the ground running right away. But I don't, aside from Florida, who I think is a very winnable game, because I don't see them having a great roster this year. I don't see us really losing any of the other non-conference games, because who are they? It's Ball State, it's FAMU, our annual FCS opponent. USF, I think, is another non-conference game. I don't see us losing any of those games. So if we go 10-2, let's say, then that would likely mean the 2 losses are ACC games. Would 6-2 in the ACC get you to the ACC championship appearance? I think so, but I don't think anything less than 2 conference losses, I don't think would get you there, or anything more than 2 conference losses, excuse me. So you got to think about that. I mean, an ACC championship appearance would be nice. We'll see how that plays out. Luckily, in the ACC, and I'm including FSU in this, I don't see any dominant force in the conference that's just going to run away with it this year. I could see Clemson having a bounce back season and having a nice year, but that's not for certain. I could see FSU doing that, but remember, they lost a ton of guys, and they're gonna have to replenish through the portal again. And so far, aside from DJ, the guys that they've picked up, I'm not like super impressed like I was last year. Getting Jared Verse and Keon Coleman and that running back, blanking on his name right now. They got like 5, 6, 7 dudes that were monsters. I'm not seeing that this time. So yeah, I don't see any team in the ACC that really scares me. ACC is not going to be easy. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see any team there that really scares me. It's kind of anybody's conference right now. We'll see how the offseason plays out with who else teams acquire. I think we're going to land a big-time wide receiver at some point, which could tip the scales in our favor. But I don't see any team that's like a clear-cut favorite for the ACC. So that's the good news. Let's see, 10 wins, beat the rivals. 9 in-season games. Okay, so regular season, 9-3. Got it. Beat Florida, beat FSU, lose no more than 3 games, including possible bowl loss. Okay, yeah, a lot of you guys are kind of where I'm at. I would love to sit here and tell you that we're gonna win 10 games, which we haven't done since 2017. I would love to tell you that, yeah, we're just gonna go out and win the conference. That we'll be playing in Charlotte that first week in December and beating whoever they put in front of us. I would love to be able to say that. You know what? On paper, that seems logical. But if the last 20 years, close to 20 years, has taught me anything, we kind of go through this pattern of especially in a season like this where there's a lot of anticipation, we're a couple recruiting classes into whoever our coach is. He's building something. It happened with Shannon. It happened with Al Golden. It happened with Mark Richt. You start hot. Something happens midseason, a key injury, a couple of key injuries. You lose a game you shouldn't have lost, and then things kind of unravel a little bit. It even happened in 2017. It didn't happen until the very end of the season against Pitt, but it happened. 2013, we start 7-0. We beat Florida. Al Golden, looks like what he's doing is working. All of a sudden, we lose to FSU. We lose to Jameis Winston on the road, and then we go on to lose like 3 in a row after that. Randy Shannon had 1 9-win season. Ja'Cory Harris, I believe, injured his thumb towards the end of that season. We lose a couple of games. We get killed in the bowl game by Wisconsin. First of many getting killed by Wisconsin. So, yeah, this has happened before. I've seen this movie. And that is why I'm tempering my expectations until you can prove me otherwise. Miami, I could see them being good. I'm not going to sit here and predict that they're going to be great or amazing this year. I think we will be better. You can't deny the talent that's being brought in. But I will temper my expectations and say, this is like a 9-win team, which, for the record, I would be very okay with. Just make sure you beat Florida. Make sure you beat Florida State. Win 9 games. That this recruiting of bringing in top 10 classes, that's going to continue. And people are going to start taking notice. Oh, Miami, they're starting to win some games. They're starting to win big games. They're beating FSU in Florida, which is huge in recruiting. That matters, I think. They seem to be the best team in Florida right now. I'm talking at the end of 2024, not right this second. I think, yes, like what Birdstone is saying, the optics, 9-win season, the optics look good. Exactly. Less penalties. Make it look like the culture is really starting to take shape. I don't want to see the dumb penalties of shoving guys or hitting guys after the whistle. That needs to stop. That needs to be eradicated from the program, like, immediately. If I see 9 wins and I see that health, I would hate to bring in Cam Ward and only go 8-4, but even 8-4, if you beat Florida and Florida State and you just overall look like the better team, I'm not saying sign me up for that right now, but I'm saying, hey, it's progress. It's a long way away from that disaster of a 2022 season. It's much improved. Let's see. Katie says, Ward just made 2024 a put up or shut up year. No more excuses. Another mediocre season and a lot of handwriting goes up on the wall. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think it speeds things up as far as knowing where Mario Cristobal's at and kind of letting the fans know where he's at with this program. Hopefully we don't because if we take a step back, yeah, that would be bad. Then I can honestly say, yes, Mario Cristobal, deservedly so, is in the hot seat. But honestly, I don't see us backsliding. I definitely don't see that. I think the floor is high now. Hope Dawson does not go. Me neither. Let's see. I'm shooting for that 8th to 12th slot. When we're in, we can do the rest. Reality, that number 8 to number 12 teams will be wild cards. That's very true. We could even be runners up in the ACC and sneak into that playoff. I'm trying not to think CFP right now, but it's exciting to know that this season, the year that we land Cam Ward and the year that we're going into year 3 of this rebuild, where we have a lot of blue chip recruits, and we're gonna bring in some key portal guys. It's pretty exciting to know that that's the year that the playoffs expand to 12 teams. It's kind of fitting. Hopefully it all works out. I'm still tempering my expectations. Since the first game away against a big rival, I just pray they come out hungry, playing amazing football, amazing team football, focus, and letting their play do the talking. Well said, Firefighter King. Mario knows year 3, it's 10 or bust. Let's make it happen. Real Canes always have faith. All right. Hey, look, I definitely think it's possible. I'm just not putting it out there as my prediction. It's kind of like, prove me otherwise first, and then let's see. Until then, my prediction is like 9. John, if we beat UF and FSU, wouldn't you think it's horrible to lose to any other team on the schedule, seeing that those two probably have the most talent aside from Louisville on the schedule? I can see what you mean by that, but you got to remember, we are still a very young team. I forgot what it was, like 70 or 75% of the roster right now are redshirt sophomores or younger. So you got to factor that in. We are a young team. We could look great, and let's say we go blow out Florida in the Swamp. We're going to be riding high. We'll win the first 3-4 games because I think it's like FAMU, Ball State, Cal. Those are the first few games. And then let's say you have a dud of an ACC game. Again, that's why I'm still tempering my expectations, because it happens. Look, with those young teams, it is hard to maintain that. You need some veterans in there. You need, that's why I think 2025 will really be okay. Now it's like solidified, and what Mario's been building. Now after 2025, it'll be very tough to backslide. Like 9 wins will be the absolute floor moving forward. It's kind of like when Mark Richt was at Georgia. After a couple of years, it was like, okay, 10 wins is now the bar. That's like no less than that. And it was basically that for 15 years when he was there. That's what I think Cristobal is building here. It's just the downside of it, it takes time. But 2024, we're still on the young side, and you still need, we're going to have more depth this year, which I'm looking forward to, but you just got to factor in the youth. You're going to have to lean on some freshmen this year at certain spots. Somebody might get hurt, and one of those 5-star stud freshmen might have to step in and play extended snaps like Ruben Payne had to this year. Shout out to him, man. He was the defensive rookie of the year in the ACC. I can't wait to see what he does in his second year, because he will be more of that edge rush specialist instead of, having to play 2-3 downs, with his hand in the dirt at defensive tackle, which is not, that'll wear him down. He's just not big enough for that. So I think you're going to have more guys playing where they're supposed to play, and a lot more rotation and just keeping guys fresh. Hopefully we have some good injury luck and we don't lose a bunch of guys the first 2 weeks. Because that A&M game, it was a big win, but then you come out of it losing like 3 defensive players for the season. So it came at a price. I don't want to see that anymore. But to go back to your point, those teams probably have the most talent, but I think Louisville's the toughest team on the schedule, to be quite honest with you. It's between Louisville and FSU, depending on who they acquire. We're still young enough that I could totally see us having a great game against all 3 of those teams. But then we have a dud against Georgia Tech. We have a dud against Duke. We have a dud against, Va Tech at home. So I could still see scenarios where that happened. It's still progress. That to me just shows, it doesn't show that we suck or anything. It just shows youth. It shows a little inexperience. And, they're just still learning how to win consistently, which is like that last step in building. But Louisville's portal pickup pieces are solid. Don Chaney went there. Don Chaney went there, and who else went there? Jaleel Skinner just went there. Yeah, and I have a feeling Coach Braum is going to know exactly how to use Jaleel Skinner. I just have a feeling. I don't think him not working out here was all the coaches. Don't get me wrong, but there's a specific way to use a guy like that, I think, and I think he's going to get the most out of his talents. And Don Chaney also too. I hope Don Chaney can stay healthy. That's his only issue. Why are we worried so much about scholarships? Can an NIL deal compensate for a scholarship, or am I missing something? Mitch, I actually never thought of that. Yeah, that's a good point. could an NIL deal, technically pay for your schooling, if you didn't get a scholarship through football? Yeah, that's an interesting point, Mitch. I didn't think of that. But make no mistake, I think some people will be dropping off from the roster either way. Mark it down. We win the ACC next year. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. Wasn't Mario a conference champ by year 3 at Oregon? I think by year 2 he won the conference, if I'm not mistaken. I think his second year was that year with Justin Herbert. Third year was 2020, so it was that weird COVID year that they played like half a season in the Pac-12. So I don't know how that went. But yeah, I'm pretty sure 2019, his second year, they won the Pac-12, won the Rose Bowl. And then his fourth year, they lost to Utah. But that was the year that they beat Ohio State and Columbus. So yeah, I think his first conference championship was in year 2. I believe Norvell started 3-9, 5-7, then 10-2 and 13-0, right? You're absolutely right. Yes, those are facts. The first year I think was 4-8. I don't think it was 3-9. Let's see. You can't count on 2025 because guys don't have to sit out a year if they transfer. Youth or not, Murray needs to win 10 or more this year. Okay. If you can show they can blend air raid with pro style with Ward, he'll be very sought after. Yeah, if I were him, if I were Dawson, I would use this year as like a launching pad to be like, hey, look what I helped bring in Dawson. Look what we did with him. Yeah, good point. No, then some big programs would be after him for sure. Dawson gets an extension at the end of the year and we move on. I would love continuity at the coordinator spots. Question is, can Mario outcoach Norvell, Braum, Dabo, and the better ACC coaches on game day? I'm talking long run here. I'm not going to lie to you. Don't hold out too much hope for that. I'm honestly not. That doesn't mean we can't consistently beat those teams. If we just have better athletes and better players, but also have just better culture and we're more disciplined and we're more prepared, then, those bad timeout management and stuff like that, I don't think makes nearly as much of a difference. Remember, we lived through Butch Davis, who was not the best game day coach, but the guy had an eye for talent, and so does Mario. He had an eye for talent. He could recruit and he could develop, and he put together one hell of a culture in the late 90s to then create those 2000, 2001, 2002 teams that dominated college football. Remember, that was Butch. I'd rather lay an egg to FSU than Duke, to be honest. What? No. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to disagree with you there. No way. If you give me an option to beat either FSU or Duke, I'm picking FSU every single day of the week. It's not even a question. Coach, he didn't have NIL, transfer portal, CFP, 20 presence. It's totally different. Yeah, no, you're right. It is different. I still think building layers of talent that's sustainable, I think it takes a few years, outside of a few exceptions. If you want to have one great season, yeah, you could piece together something through the portal, but it's not. Does it stay? Does it have any staying power? Does it build? You want to build roots as well with all those high school classes. FSU has no culture. Our guys are losing and winning together, and will be a strong team, a stronger team than what Norvell is selling right now. You take an Elimani? No, I mean, look, you're giving me an option of him or FSU. I'm beating FSU every single time if you give me a choice. I'm sorry, I just am. I mean, that would suck. I'm not lying to you. That would suck. But losing to FSU sucks more, always. I would love to see Miami win 10 games this year, but I think everyone should stop with 10 or bust talk. Thank you, 904. Yeah, I think my message tonight is be excited, because we should be, but temper your expectations as well. I would love to see Miami win 10 games this season. Let's stop with the 10 win or bust talk. If Miami wins 9 games with a win over FSU, would be acceptable and successful. I'm with you on that. I'm totally with you on that. FSU was a 3-win team in 2020. Okay. All right. Yeah, that was the season we beat them by like 50. I could have sworn they were 4-8, but okay, I could be wrong. Guys, UGA just lost 15 guys to the portal. 12 of them were freshmen and sophomores. They were all 4 and 5 star. They were winning, and guys are still leaving. You have to win in the present. Yeah, but how many of them just left on their own? Were any of them pushed out? Because nowadays it's a little more cutthroat in the sense that you got to make room for it. Like if you see a guy in the portal that can help you right now at a certain spot, you got to make room. And remember, those aren't all guys that just decided to up and leave. I'm sure some wanted to stay. They were at Georgia, and I'm sure it was a mix of guys that wanted to leave, and maybe they didn't get the playing time that they wanted, or maybe they got kind of nudged out. I don't know. I would have to know the context. John, can you please read my comments? Okay, let me find it. Find it. Other canvases. You mean coaches or campuses? Other accusing Miami paying to come to Miami. Thought. Yeah, those. I'm used to those accusations. It's like, yeah, NIL is a legal way for players to get compensated now, and it's okay when everybody else uses it, but whatever. Not going to say much on that. Yeah, everybody likes to cry that, like when we were stealing recruits from Ohio State, oh, they paid that guy. It's like NIL is legal for everyone. Like, what are you talking about? Zero expectations, 8-4 until Mario proves he won't lay eggs in trap games. Listen, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Prove me otherwise. I'm expecting improvement, but prove me otherwise as far as like really taking that next step. Let's see, because we've had expectations before. Let's see if I can answer one or two more. By the way, guys, 142 in the chat. Thank you for hopping on. Please hit the like button. And please subscribe if you have not done so already. Here's a good one. What is Jason Taylor's future with the Kings? There are a lot of rumors out there that Ohio State's courting him and all that stuff. Listen, his son just came here. I think he came as like a preferred walk-on or something. I don't think he's a scholarship guy, but his son just got here a week ago. I don't think his son would have come if Jason even was flirting with the idea of leaving. That's just my thought on the whole thing. Until I see something otherwise, I'm pretty confident he's staying, at least as of right now. NIL is the mechanism to come. Yeah. Okay, I'll end with this one. Biggest group or unit that needs to step up. That's a good one because, okay, last year it was offensive line, and they did. Mission accomplished. Good job. Offensive line is now one of our strengths. Just keep doing that. I mean, quarterback, that's an obvious one, but we just brought in a really talented one, so I think that will happen. Aside from the obvious quarterback position, who needs to step up? I would say, yeah, Caesar. I think I'm with you. I think wide receivers needs to step up. And I think we got the guys to do it. We'll add somebody, no doubt, now that Ward is here. I think it's going to make it a lot easier. We'll land somebody really good. And aside from that, you got a ton of talent to work with now. You got some three elite guys coming in this year. At least one of those three is going to make an impact right now. At least. You got Isaiah Horton, who could step up. If he could step up, that would really be big. We'll see what happens with Jacoby George. Hopefully things work out for him. Let's see who else. Xavier Restrepo. You got arguably the best slot receiver in the nation. You got Ray Joseph right behind him. Very versatile, shifty. He's dangerous with the ball in his hands. I would love to see that room really take a step and go into 2025 like, yo, look at the numbers these guys just put up. You got a couple of future first rounders in there. So yeah, I would say wide receiver. And you know what? I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit. I'm going to add tight ends into that. Receivers / tight ends, guys catching the football, basically. That's my answer. Anybody who's out there catching a football on offense, that's who needs to step up. And take a little pressure off Cam Ward, JoJo, the one-hand catch king. I cannot wait. That's one guy I can't wait to see, for sure. I was very excited when he committed. All right, guys. 8:33. I'm going to hop off, but thank you for joining and just chatting a little Canes with me. I will be back on later this week. I'll let you guys know which day. I'll try to have a guest on. And yeah, until then, have a great night, guys. Go Canes. Take care.